Hey everyone, it's Samantha with Veil of Grace Salon and a Wealthy Hairstylist YouTube channel. I actually wanted to show you guys how I set up my hair extension kit and the tools that I use and how I keep things organized. So let's take a look. So this box, I actually got it at Target. The brand is Stylist, and I believe it's like to organize sewing or tiny like knickknacks. It really was not that expensive, and these pieces come out and everything can kind of move around. But I like how it's slender, so it can actually fit in my drawer in my station, and I can pull it out and use it, which is great. But let's dive on in. So let's start with what I have first off. So I actually have pliers, and these ones have glue. So I usually have one plier that I use for glue, and all my other ones are clean. I don't like to mix my pliers, use them. So one is for glue, and the others are, one is for opening and one is for closing. So that's my glue plier. This is my closing plier, which is from Beadalon. And then this is my opening and crimping, I guess you could say, pliers. And I got these on Amazon. There's like no brand on them. I literally just, I think Google searched closing pliers. And you can see it has like these little divots in here. So that way when you close the bead, it will cause a little crimp in it. Okay, so those are what I mainly use. And then for bead wise, so I fluctuate between a few different beads. My favorite that I've actually been using is the IBE, which is Invisible Bead Extensions. Her beads. I actually really like her beads. These are her 2mm beads. They actually have a silicone lining in them. The aluminum is really soft, so I feel I can open and close them very easily. There's other brands of beads that I've used, and once you close a bead, sometimes they can be very difficult to open. And these have a little bit of give, and I actually really like these. These have been my favorite most recently. And at her store, they come in a variety of colors, but I tend to use the brown colors. So they have dark brown, light brown, and black, which has been mostly the colors that I use. The other beads that I've used, because I do specialize in a variety of hair extension methods, so different beads are for different methods and different textures of hair. But the other kind of beads that I use are from the hair shop, and this one is a silicone lined bead as well. These ones are called medium short, and they're 3.4 by 3.0 millimeters. So they're really tiny. They're a little bit shorter than the IBE beads, and they're smaller. And then I also use Covet & Main, their beads as well, which are also silicone lined. I feel the silicone helps protect the client's hair a little bit more. So that way the bead, when it's closed and clamped, it's not directly on the client's hair. The silicone gives a little bit more of a squish and a cushion in between the bead and the client's hair. And it's pretty grippy as well, so it's gonna hold great. But Covet & Main, they also have a silicone lined bead, which I like, and they have a variety of sizes. This is their 4.0 by 2.7. So those are the three brands that I use for my beads. I have a section that I keep for all my clips, so when I hand lay the hair, I usually like the single clip. I know some people use the double, but I prefer the single. And you could get these online pretty much anywhere, on Amazon. On the IBE store, the Invisible Bead Extensions, she has these gold ones, and they are awesome. They're super strong and they hold really well. I actually really like her tools. I keep this little bobby hair tie for when I section off my clients and I want to tie their hair up. I usually will use a hair tie rather than a clip. I feel it's a little bit more gentle on the client's hair. And then with my extensions, since I usually deal with 1 to 2 rows, when I remove my wefts from my client's hair, I or my assistant will label the wefts once we remove them from the hair, because for the methods that I do, when I remove it, it's usually everything comes off as one big long track, and then we'll cut it apart and then the wefts can separate. However, you don't ever want to get confused on your corners, whether it's your right corner, left corner, whether it's your top right or your bottom left. So I actually labeled my clips. So we have left bottom, right top, and then left top. And that way I just clip it on the weft. And then I actually have another clip that we just do top, and then one is bottom. So that way when the wefts get pulled from the head, I know exactly where it was prior on the client, so that way wefts don't get confused. Because sometimes clients have, you know, different partings on their hair, and your sectioning will be different, and one side's higher, one side's lower. So if you get all your extension wefts swapped and mixed around, if you put them back in the wrong place where you originally installed and cut them, you're gonna have to recut everything that you did the first go around. So I usually like to keep things really labeled and organized. I do use this string for one of my extension methods. It's a nylon string that is tied off with beads, but I basically will slip the beads onto here, and they slide down, and then I use the string for the install. And another method that I use, I actually just use my comb and with the string itself. So I usually will keep the beads on here ready to go for my install. And then regarding string, so there are two strings that I like to use. I like this brand. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Let me see if I can show it to you. Gutermann. It comes in every single color you could think of. It is a polyester string. It is very thin and very strong. This string has been a game changer for my stitching work. I feel it kind of disappears into the weft. It's not bulky, it's not thick. It's very strong and it holds well. And one of these will last you a very long time. So like I said, they come in a variety of colors. And so, which is awesome, because then you could, depending on the colors of extensions that you use, you can match it towards your client's wefts. But these, you could get them online, or you could get them at Michael's or any of those artsy crafts stores that have sewing materials. They will sell this brand, and this is great. So I usually will use that, and then I do use just a general cotton string, which is a little bit thicker, for some other methods that I do when I have to create the track for my extension process, for how I sew in my extensions. So these are the two, but this one is my favorite. Definitely a go-to and a must for extensions. And then I went over the pliers. And then I usually just keep extra combs in here. And the combs I just use for sectioning. I usually like to keep a really good kind of sharp tool for creating my guide for my extension install. Clean sections are key when doing extension installs. So you want a pretty sharp weave comb, I guess you'd say. And this is YS Park. I love this brand. Their clips and the combs are awesome. And then usually little mini scissors, because we gotta cut the string, things like that. Oh, and then I keep a little thing of glue. And this is Loctite super glue. I never use this on the client's hair. The glue is mainly for if I'm cutting wefts and I have to glue the weft so it doesn't come unraveled, or if I'm tying a knot on the string, then the glue will be used here. And a lot of times the glue will also be used on my needles. That's another thing I'll kind of go through. So I use these really tiny, tiny hook needles. There's a variety of needles you could use. I prefer something smaller, but they come in a variety of sizes. But like I said, this is probably like an inch and a half size. But the string, the glue we usually use to tie off the string. It keeps it very sleek. Instead of tying a knot on my needles, I use a dab of glue, and that way when I'm stitching and sewing, the knot doesn't get caught in the process of weaving in between the client's hair and the weft. So the glue keeps the string very sleek and it's tight. It's not going on there and it's not going to come undone unless you cut it. So that is why we keep the glue in here. And then a handy dandy water bottle. I always like to spray down my clients and do my installs on damp hair. Not soaking wet, but having a nice mist so I am able to keep all the flyaways on their hair like super clean. So having a nice mister spray bottle. I got this from Bath Pack, which you can find on their website. These are great. I would definitely recommend getting a couple in stock because just in case if one goes awry, since I use it all the time, it's good to have a backup. But that is always filled and ready to go. And there's my kit. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about anything I used, feel free to ask below and I'll be more than happy to answer for you. But don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you back here at A Wealthy Hairstylist soon. Bye guys.